Hi, third grade. So, hopefully you met with me in small reading groups today and don't need to watch this video because we've already read it together. But let's say your computer was being used by a sibling or you just had something else to do. I want to read aloud to you what we covered today so that you do not miss anything, okay? So, in our groups, we read page 127 to page 132, more or less. So please get your novel and follow along with me. And if you want to hear it again to answer your questions better, listen away. Okay, so we left off with Jamie and Claudia taking a cab out to the main character of our narrator of our story. Not our main character, our narrator, Mrs. Basiley Frankweiler. Okay, so here we go. I was sitting at one of the tables wearing my customary white lab coat and my Baroque pearl necklace when the children were brought in. Claudia and James Kincaid, Parks announced. I allowed them to wait a good long while. Parks had cleared his throat at least 6 times before I turned around. Of course, Saxonburg, you know that I hadn't wasted the time between Parks' announcement that Claudia and James Kincaid wanted to see me and the time that they appeared at my office. I was busy doing research. That was also when I called you. You sounded like anything but a lawyer when I called. Disgusting. I could hear the children shuffling back and forth impatiently. The importance of Parks's manner is what kept them from interrupting me. They shuffled and scratched, and Jamie even emitted 2 very false sneezes to attract my attention. It's particularly easy for me to ignore fake sneezes, and I went on with my research. I don't like to waste time, so when at last I turned around, I did so abruptly and asked directly, "Are you the children who have been missing from Greenwich for a week?" You must admit, Saxonburg, that when the need arises, I have a finely developed sense of theatrics. They had become so used to not being discovered that they had entirely forgotten that they were runaways. Now their reaction was one of amazement. They both looked as if their hearts had been pushed through funnels. "All right," I said, "you don't have to tell me. I know the answer." "How do you know about us?" Jamie asked. "Did you call the police?" Claudia asked at the same time. "From the newspapers," I replied, pointing to Jamie. "And no," I replied, pointing to Claudia. "Now both of you sit down here and talk about the Italian Renaissance." Jamie glanced at the newspapers I had been researching. "We're in the newspapers?" He seemed pleased. "Even your pictures," I nodded. "I'd like to see that," Claudia said. "I haven't had a decent picture taken since I've been able to walk." "Here you are." I held out several papers. 2 days before yesterday, you were on the 5th page in Hartford and 2nd page in Stamford and the front page in Greenwich. "The front page in Greenwich?" Claudia asked. "That's my school picture from 1st grade," Jamie exclaimed. "See, I don't have one of my front teeth." "Goodness, this picture of me is 3 years old. Mother never even bought my school pictures the last 2 years. Claudia held her picture up for Jamie to see. "Do you think I look like this?" "Enough," I said. "Now, what do you want to tell me about the Italian Renaissance?" "Is your butler calling the police while you stall us here?" Jamie asked. "No," I answered, "and I refuse to keep reassuring you. If you keep on with this kind of talk, I shall find you so dull that I shall call your parents as well as the police to get rid of you. Is that clear, young man?" "Yes," Jamie muttered. "Young lady?" Claudia nodded yes. They both stood with bowed heads, then asked Jamie, "Do I frighten you, young man?" Jamie looked up. "No, ma'am. I'm quite used to frightening things, and you're really not so bad-looking." "So bad-looking? I wasn't referring to the way I look. Actually, I never think much about that anymore. I rang for Parks. When he arrived, I told him to please bring me a mirror." Everyone waited in silence until Parks returned with the mirror. Silence continued as I picked it up and began a very long and close inspection of my face. It's not a bad face, except that lately my nose seems to have grown longer, and my upper lip appears to have collapsed against my teeth. These things happen when people get older, and I'm getting just that. I ought to do something about my hair besides have Parks cut it for me. It's altogether white now, and looks like frayed nylon thread. Maybe I'll take time out and get a permanent wave, except that I hate beauty parlors. My nose has gotten longer like Pinocchio, but not for the same reason. Well, not most of the time, I said as I put down the mirror. Claudia gasped and laughed. Oh, so you were thinking the same thing. No matter. I never really look past my eyes. That way I always feel pretty. Windows of the souls, you know. Claudia took a step closer to me. You really do have beautiful eyes. They're like looking into a kaleidoscope. The way those golden flecks in them keep catching the light. She was quite close to me now and actually peering into my face. It was uncomfortable. I put a stop to that. Do you spend much time looking in mirrors, Claudia? Some days I do, some days I don't. Would you care to look now? No, thank you, she said. Well then, I said, we'll continue. Parks, please return this mirror. We want to talk about the Italian Renaissance. James, you haven't said one word since you told me that I look frightening. Speak now. We want to know about the statue, Jamie stammered. Speak up, boy, I commanded. What statue? The statue in the Metropolitan Museum in New York City in Manhattan. The one of the angel. The one you sold for $225,000, Claudia added. I walked over to my files of newspaper clippings and pulled out a manila folder and one which has all the newspaper clippings about the auction and the museum buying the statue. It also contains the article about the crowds going to see the statue. Why did you sell her? Claudia asked, pointing to the picture of Angel. Because I don't like to donate things. If I owned such a lovely statue, I'd never sell it or donate it either. I cherish it like a member of my own family, Claudia preached. Considering all the trouble you've caused your family, that isn't saying very much. Have they been worried? She asked. If you hadn't been so busy looking at your picture in the paper, you could have read that they are nearly frantic. Claudia blushed. But I wrote them a letter. I told them not to worry. Evidently, your letter didn't work. Everyone is worried. I told them not to, she repeated. We're going home anyway, as soon as you tell us if Michelangelo carved Angel. Did he do it? That's my secret, I answered. Where have you been all week? That's our secret, Claudia answered, lifting her chin high. And we will stop there. So you will answer the questions below in this form. You will follow the directions. You need to restate the question in your answer. You need to write at least 3 sentences. I want quality sentences. I want you to go back to your novel and give me text evidence, okay? I want you to think about your answers. Nothing too quick. I want you to think about the novel and what the answers to your questions mean, okay? And I want you to think about punctuation, using it properly, and capitalization. Okay? All right. Good luck. I can't wait to read what you wrote.